The Algerian War of Independence, the bloody struggle for freedom. The sun sets over the rugged mountains of Kabylia, casting long shadows over the small villages nestled in the valleys. It is October 1954, and a group of men gathers in secret. They speak in hushed tones, their faces illuminated by the flickering light of a single lantern. These men are not soldiers, not yet. They are teachers, farmers, laborers, and shopkeepers. But tonight, they are united by a single purpose: to free Algeria from over a century of French colonial rule. Among them is Ahmed Ben Bella, a former French army sergeant who once fought for France in World War II. Now he is ready to fight against it. This is the birth of the National Liberation Front, the FLN, and the beginning of a war that will change the course of history. But to understand this moment, we must go back to 1830, when French warships appeared off the coast of Algiers. France, eager to expand its empire, invaded Algeria under the pretext of a diplomatic slight. What followed was a ruthless colonization. The French seized land, imposed their culture, and treated the native Algerians as second-class citizens in their own country. By the mid-20th century, Algeria was not just a colony, it was considered an integral part of France. Yet, beneath the surface, resentment simmered. The Algerians were tired of being strangers in their own land. The spark that ignited the flame of rebellion came in 1945 in the town of Sétif. As World War II ended, Algerians dared to hope for freedom. They marched in protest, waving the Algerian flag and demanding independence. The French response was swift and brutal. Thousands were massacred, their bodies left in the streets as a warning. But instead of crushing the spirit of resistance, the Sétif massacre fueled it. Algerians realized that freedom would not be given, it would have to be taken. By 1954, the FLN was ready to act. On November 1st, they launched a series of coordinated attacks across Algeria. Military outposts, police stations, and communication lines were targeted. The French were caught off guard. Who were these rebels? How had they organized so effectively? The FLN's message was clear: Algeria would no longer bow to colonial rule. The French, however, were not about to let go of their prized colony without a fight. What followed was a war unlike any other. The French army, one of the most powerful in the world, brought its full might to bear. They deployed tanks, planes, and paratroopers. They built barriers along the borders to cut off the FLN supply lines. But the FLN fought back with guerrilla tactics, blending into the population and striking where the French least expected. The war was not just fought in the mountains and deserts, it spilled into the cities, into the homes of ordinary Algerians. One of the most dramatic chapters of the war unfolded in the heart of Algiers. In 1956, the FLN shifted its strategy to urban warfare. They targeted French officials, police, and even civilians, using bombs and assassinations to spread fear. The French responded with equal ferocity. General Jacques Massu and his paratroopers were given carte blanche to crush the rebellion. They rounded up suspects, tortured them for information, and executed those they deemed guilty. The Battle of Algiers, as it came to be known, was a brutal game of cat and mouse. The FLN's operatives, like Sadi Youssef and Ali Lapointe, became legends, their faces plastered on wanted posters across the city. But the French had their own heroes or villains, depending on who you ask. Men like Colonel Marcel Bigard, who pioneered new methods of counterinsurgency, including the systematic use of torture. The French argued that these methods were necessary to win the war. But at what cost? The moral toll on both sides was immense. French soldiers, many of whom were conscripts, returned home scarred by what they had seen and done. Algerians, meanwhile, endured unimaginable suffering. Entire villages were destroyed, their inhabitants massacred or displaced. As the war dragged on, it began to take a toll on France itself. The cost in lives and money was staggering. Protests erupted in Paris, with students and intellectuals condemning the war. The French government, led by Charles de Gaulle, faced a dilemma: how to end the war without losing face. In 1959, de Gaulle shocked the world by announcing that Algeria had the right to self-determination. It was a turning point, but not everyone was ready to accept it. In Algeria, hardline French settlers, known as the Pieds Noirs, formed the Secret Army Organization, or OAS. They launched a campaign of terror, targeting both Algerians and French officials who supported independence. In France, the OAS attempted to assassinate de Gaulle himself. The war had become a tangled web of violence, with no easy way out. Finally, in 1962, after years of bloodshed, the Evian Accords were signed. Algeria was granted its independence. On July 5, 1962, the Algerian flag flew over Algiers for the first time in 132 years. The celebrations were euphoric, but the scars of war ran deep. Hundreds of thousands had died. Families were torn apart. The Pieds Noirs fled to France, while the Harkis, Algerians who had fought for the French, faced brutal reprisals. The legacy of the Algerian War of Independence is complex. For Algerians, it was a hard-won victory, a testament to their resilience and determination. For France, it was a painful reckoning with the realities of colonialism. The war also inspired other nations fighting for freedom, from Vietnam to South Africa. Today, the Algerian War of Independence is remembered as one of the most significant anti-colonial struggles of the 20th century. It was a war of ideals, of identity, and of survival. It was a war that changed the course of history. And it is a story that deserves to be told. Expanded sections for more depth. 1. The role of women. Highlight the stories of women like Jamila Bouhired and Zora Drif, who played crucial roles in the FLN's urban campaigns. Describe how women carried bombs, smuggled weapons, and provided medical care, often risking their lives. 2. International reactions. Discuss how the war influenced global politics, with countries like Egypt and the Soviet Union supporting the FLN. Explore the impact of the war on the United Nations and the broader decolonization movement. 3. Personal stories. Include first-hand accounts from FLN fighters, French soldiers, and civilians caught in the crossfire. Describe the emotional toll of the war, from the loss of loved ones to the struggle for survival. 4. The aftermath. Detail the challenges Algeria faced after independence, from rebuilding the country to establishing a new government. Explore how the war shaped Algeria's national identity and its relationship with France. If you liked this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and become a part of our community. Here, you'll find historical wars, inspiring stories, and unique content based on real events. If you want to see more engaging and fact-based stories, hit the bell icon to get notified about our latest videos instantly. Your support means the world to us. Leave a comment and let us know what topics you'd like us to cover next. Raising hands fire. Bell subscribe, share, and help us bring these incredible stories to the world.